Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Nordic F3 Championship on Apex Racing TV, live from Brazil in South America at the iconic and mighty Interlagos. Now, Interlagos is something of a throwback circuit, built in the 1940s and updated just enough over the years to satisfy the demands of Formula 1 without destroying its essential character. And although the teams have given, its historic, its primitive paddock facilities, they give it much more of a lukewarm reception, but drivers and fans and spectators alike absolutely adore this place, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Nordic F3s get on this evening. I'm Tim Cox. We've got John Robinson in the production booth, but right now, as always, I'm joined by Seb Bosher-Williams. Seb, well, as we've seen so far in the 2 previous rounds, we've had 2 drivers who've won both races, so top victories, both races in race 1. Maya, both races in round 2. Bit of a pattern emerging. Do you think we're going to see the same again tonight?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Nordic F3 Championship. I kind of do, I think. I don't want it to be true. I love seeing different people at the top of the standings, but I think Maya and Torp have just been so dominant, and they're almost in the league ahead of everybody at the moment. Their driving is just so phenomenal that I think it's likely to happen. It is quite easy to overtake around here. Turn 1 is such a good opportunity. So I think we're going to see the drivers who start on, start down in 8th place, of course, if you win the first race, of course, the top 8 gets reversed for the second race, and I think you will be able to see them coming through the field. So I think this track definitely sort of suits that hypothesis, but only time will tell. Of course, Thomas Torp last time at Kota had a fairly terrible day of being involved, I think crashing actually with his teammate in race 2, and didn't really have the pace in race 1. So Torp has got it all to do tonight, and Isaacson as well. He had another mare of a race, and Anders Meyer, well, he just went home laughing, and he is now actually at the top of the championship standings.
He is indeed. He's got a 23-point advantage over Isaacson in second, and Torp just starting to get a cut adrift a little bit in these early stages of the championship on 218. Those 3 there in a bit of a league of their own, because Hendon in 4th place, he's all the way back on 187 points, with Grebstrad 10 points behind in 5th. Then rounding out your top 10, it's Larson, Behrens, Gullikson, Jesserenbakken and Nielsen. And I don't know about you, Seb, if you were caught it quite on camera there, but as the drivers were heading on their outlap, I'm sure I spotted Jesper back in there having a bit of a, bit of a brake drag going on there, really slowing the car down, weaving furiously. Of course, you can't tell if they're on the brakes in these Formula cars due to them not having any brake lights, but it's good to see us alive and well. Not just in the GT3s has been heavily advertised, but also in F3. We've got some time starting to flood in as drivers cross the line, and it's Grebstrad. I think the initial pace is a 1:28.52, only 200ths quicker than Havard Gilkson behind him, and just waiting for the main protagonist to start to come through to see what the pole pace is going to be. Of course, the drivers have 4 laps, 10 minutes in which to complete those. Already nearly 4 minutes in, and there we go. Torp setting the initial pace there with a 1:27.7, 7 tenths quicker than Grebstrad. I mean, that's a big lap, and Isaacson must have had a bit of issues on his first lap there, because 20 seconds off the pace, so yeah, definitely not the best lap as Grebstrad back, and coming in line with the Grebstrads and Gullicksons there on 7 tenths behind Torp, and some other than Torp, some incredibly close times there, Seb.
It really is. Meyer goes to the top of the timing stands, almost 2 tenths quicker than his main rival, Thomas Torp. That's a really important lap there from the championship leader. Yeah, really interesting what you were saying about Grebstrad doing the brake dragging technique. If you've not been around the iRacing circles recently, it's been all over Reddit and in the forums, but it's basically where you slow the car down so much and hold the brakes and weave really quickly, and it puts a lot of so much temperature in the sort of the core of the tires, which allows you to go quicker, but crucially it doesn't raise the tire pressure. So it's the best of both worlds, and if you get it right, you can go about a second a lap quicker. So has Jensen back in there sort of gone up to 9th and easier, sort of a second slower on a normal lap, or hasn't it, or doesn't it make that much difference for him? I'm not quite sure, but I think every driver is going to be doing it. As Thomas Torp has a storming lap, and he goes to the top of the timing stand. So the times are coming down. I have also just noticed how windy it is out on track. Talking about a 20-kilometer tailwind into some of these corners, and that's a huge deal for these drivers. It's going to make the rear of the car so unstable. You can actually see on the little graphic there, it's 19 kilometers an hour at the present moment, and that's going to make some of these corners really difficult, especially in the braking zones. And you can be so lucky, as you just saw there, that the wind came down by about 2 kilometers an hour, and that could make such a big difference to your lap time. So it really benefits you if you could just go out there, put quite a lot of fuel in the tank and just keep on lapping, and you might just get lucky with the track conditions. But Torp currently setting the pace, and Jensen back in there up to 3rd, but he's in 3rd and 6 tenths off Torp. Absolutely crazy.
It is, and Larson, well, after initially saying fastest sector 2 of anyone out on track, he moves up to 3rd in the second row of the grid, with Essenbacken moving up onto the second row with him, displacing Jakob Behrens there, who's demoted down to 5th. And also, Sam, you're saying about the wind being a tricky issue for the drivers. That's dropped down a little bit. It's dropping down to 13, 14 kilometers an hour now. But as I say, that's just instantly picked straight back up again. Very gusty out there. Also, the track temperature, it's 38 degrees Celsius, and even with the ambient at 29. It is scorchio out there, isn't it? And definitely not going to help drivers when it comes to getting out of the slower corners.
It really isn't. It's going to be really tricky there, especially in race 2 with the longer race. I think we will be seeing more drivers taking tyres, as tyre wear is going to be a huge factor. Of course, you can't really do that in race 1, so I think drivers with a lighter touch on the throttle and the ability to save tyres by turning in a little bit less aggressively and sort of almost driving on fingertips will really help them, because their grip is going to be so limited out there. I think it's the highest track temp we've seen so far this season. Isaacson, interestingly, up to 2nd place now, 1 tenth behind. That's more in line of where we see Isaacson, so I think he sorted out the issues that he had earlier on. It's quite late to the party, actually, with about 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, as that's Gremscher there, just showing how not to do a lap very quickly. He's been sideways about 4 times so far as we've been on board with him. That's just going to show how little grip is out there. And Thomas Torp is on another flyer. He's been purple on all 4 sectors so far. Purple on all 3 out of the 4 he's done, with Isaacson taking the honours in the second sector as he crosses the line. I think this is going to be quite a quick lap from your pole sitter. And yeah, he's extended it by another 10th. And that's so crucial as we head into...
Look at Isaacson, though, right at the death replies to go within a 10th of Torp. I mean, that is a sensational lap, but just missing out by 700ths of a second there. And the gap to Meyer is starting to become a bit, could have drifted a little bit. He's not an improving lap. You see in the bottom left corner of your screen right now, only improvement in one of the sectors, and that was just a personal best. But Larson, he's on a bit of a flyer as well.
He is.
He's improving.
Yeah, he is. Isaacson actually lost all of his time in Sector 4. He lost 0.08 of a second to Thomas Torp. So if he can tidy up that second to last sector, he could be on for a pole position here. I think he actually doesn't have enough time now. This is Larson. Great second sector from him. And he goes up to 4th place, 3.5 tenths behind Thomas Torp. And now we're starting to see the usual F3 shenanigans up there. The top 4 separated by 3.5 tenths. And that's exactly what we like to see. And yeah, this is going to be certainly a race. I mean, you have to go down to 13th place even to find somebody who is further than a second away from Torp. And with a track that you can overtake like Interlagos, this is going to be such a good race.
It is, and that looks like we're pretty much done with qualifying, and going to head across to the first 15-minute race, and then race 2. That's half an hour long, 13 minutes. Of course, the top 8 are inverted from the race results of race 1. And the drivers are limited on fuel, so they will be taking a pit stop. Of course, limited to just 40% of the capacity of the fuel tank. And let's not forget as well, Interlagos, a bit tricky with its track limits. Now, the drivers are limited to 12 off tracks as well, so could be interesting, especially in the longer race, Seb, to see who, manages those well, and also, to keep it within the tracks. It's so easy to get them. Let's just have a quick run through your grid, though, first of all. Torp, he's on par with Isaacson joining him on the front row. We've got Meyer and Larson on the second row, with the Estenbacher and Behrens on the third row of the grid. Gullikson and Grebstadt there on the fourth row, with Scarrett and Peterson rounding out your top 10. The Duquatro and Hendon are on the 6th row of the grid, with Jokkelsen and Nielsen on the 7th row. And then Tiverton and Otterholt even. They're on the 8th row, with Haig and Anderson on the 9th row. And then your 10th row is Lofus and Joachimsdotter. And then we've got Asgard and Hawkson, Jensen and Haraldson. And then Rue rounding out your grid here at Interlagos. And yeah, Seb, just briefly touching on it, obviously those off tracks, especially in the longer race, could become a little bit tricky for the drivers to manage. I mean, of course, around Tessida del Lago, there's a very nasty off track on the right hand side on the exit of that, and so easy to just stray across a little bit and pick that one up. It's going to be a bit of management on keeping the car within the confines of the track.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Management is going to be the name of the game in race 2. Less so in race 1. This is more of the sprint race. It's getting as many points as you can, and certainly if you're outside the top 8, moving into that to get the reversed grid pole. But yeah, you're right. Turn 4 is such an easy place to get off tracks. Watch for that in the race, and I think you'll see drivers pulling back on their ultimate pace, especially as we head towards the end of the races, because tyre wear is going to be an issue. Off tracks are going to be an issue. I love F3 and I love this league. And we're about to see. And also, watch for that third place man, Meyer. He's your championship leader.
Definitely is. Here come the lights. So let's get ready to go racing in Brazil. And we are away. You said to keep an eye on Meyer. He's got a good start. He's pulling alongside Isaacson. But Torp already out into the lead comfortably as Meyer and Isaacson go side by side round through the center S's, but Maya just had to tuck in behind Isaacson. But look, he's got Larson and Jessen back and tucked up right underneath his rear wing as we head down the Retro-Aposta for the first time. And Torqua's checked out at the front. Already a second clear as Maya looks up the inside here as we come through to Ciudad del Lago, and that's where I was talking about, where the car's just running wide. That's going to incur an off-track for them, and Maya has got past Isaacson already. But Isaacson, he's not letting him get away so easily as we just filter through for Fedora. And the pack is so close in these early stages. Gullickson there just looking to mount a bit of attack with Behrens, and also Larson getting involved too. Well, I'm amazed a bit, Seb. We've all got away really cleanly here.
We've got two people in the...
Kirsten, the commentator, strikes as Scarrett makes contact. Oh, we've got 2 cars off. I think Otterholt, Tveten, another car involved there. Hendon, Andreasen. Wow. If you've ever experienced the curse of the commentator, there is it in live format. So just saying how everyone's got away cleanly, then all of a sudden it kicks off.
It certainly does. I think that was Scarrett, Hendon and Joachim Stotter involved. Yeah, sort of a clumsy first lap move there. I was expected, as you were sort of pointing out, that we didn't see that earlier on. Turn 1 is such a hotbed for action. It's so inviting sort of to send one up the inside or around the outside. That's Behrens there getting the braking zone all wrong. Oh, and somebody's off the track behind him. That's Gullickson there getting the corner all very wrong through turn 3. Collects it all up in the end, but loses out of position. I think Behrens, unfortunately for him, had quite the unfortunate turn 1. Locked his brakes, went deep, and gave quite a few positions, actually. This is Grubstrad now, the number 37 car in that beautiful blue and white livery. Oh, and who is that behind him? That's De Quattrell there, almost forcing Gullickson out of Grubstrad out of the way. Down the inside he goes into turn 5. He's taken that position, and they're still side by side.
Oh, it's absolute cracking racing early on, and these two are not done and dusted. Practically holding hands there side by side, and nearly a bit of contact there. Those banging wheels come through the S's, and once again they are still side by side. But De Quattrell, he's going to be on the outside into Young Cow and onto the brakes, but just looking a bit further down as Asgard there, just making a bit of progress. Was currently your biggest position gain, up 6 places in these early stages, but here comes the drag race all the way out of Janko down to turn 1. Who's going to come out on top? We've got Larson, we've got Behrens, we've got Gullickson, and they're going to try and make it 3 wide potentially here as everyone just squeezes in and breathes in a little bit to make it through the center S's in one piece. Somehow Larson comes out in top, but Behrens, he's fighting back against Gullickson. And now he's going to have the slipstream all the way down the Retro-Aposta to Ciudad del Lago. And who's going to be last of the late breakers? Well, it's Behrens, and he gets the move done over Gullickson. And just look in the background, Grosstad and Quattrell, they finally sorted themselves out with Gullickson just finishing ahead there. But these two aren't done and dusted as Behrens just having to defend from Gullickson once more. As we head round Ferdura onto the brakes. Seb, how much is this going to be about managing your tyres? I mean, maybe not so much in the first race. It might play a little bit of a part of the story, but just managing those tyre temperatures, because it's so easy with racing so aggressively like this. It's so hard to generate too much temperature in the tyres and therefore lose your grip.
It's going to be so tricky, and I think in race 2 we're going to see very little of this sort of all-out wheel-to-wheel battling, because the temperatures will be through the roof, the grip will be just falling away, and it's a cycle. You can't really get out of it. As soon as you start losing the temperatures, you start sliding more, and that increases the temperatures. It's this vicious circle, and I think if you're somebody like De Quattrell, you just won't be doing this in race number 2. You'll be really trying to save those tyres as Behrens once again is on the attack. Sorry, on the defence. It's Gullickson there side by side with him to head through turn 2. That's Grubstrad in the background trying to make it 3 wide. He's going to have an absolutely enormous run off the turn 3. They're going to make it 4 wide.
I think we're going to give it a good go here down into the Ciudad del Lago. And wow, look at the move that Duquatro has pulled off there, picking the pocket of Gullickson and Grebstrab to move up 2 places. Down the rest of Raposta, just hooked up the slipstream. Well, they were quarrelling with Berens, but Gullickson, he's fighting back, and he is fighting back hard. And Duquatro could leave another place to Grebstrad, as the Ignian Motorsport driver just locked in there, just trying to hang it right around the outside, but he's going to have to yield. Duquatro makes a net gain of 1 place. Also, all just getting a bit squirrely there in the background was Jockelson, I think that was, nearly losing there on the entry. As we head into, it was through Bica de Pato, as we come round Juncal, wind up the cars once more, and well, all that's going on out of the front. Torp and Meyer, they are starting to pull away from the rest of the field. Isaacson just about remaining in touch with them, although he is on the cusp of, no, apologies, he is outside of slipstream range, so that's going to really hurt him, and I'll expect to see Torp and Meyer pull away now, as well, they're at it once again. These guys, Berens, Gullickson, Grebstrad and Quattro, just about sort themselves out through the center S's. But, well, I feel we're on for maybe not quite as interesting as what we had this time last lap, but they're going to give it another good go. Quattro losing a place to Grebstrad on the run down to turn 1, and as we see here, it's now the turn of Gullickson and Grebstrad to battle it out wheel to wheel. I mean, this is going to be nervous times, as nearly into the back of Berens there. I mean, this could pay dividends for Berens. You know, he could utilise this to really pull a gap over these two with just how much they're fighting, Seb, but can't seem to quite make it work at the moment.
He can't. I think he's struggling a little bit for pace, and that straight is just so long, as that's a very, very late move from Grebstrad there. But Gullickson just seems to have an answer for everything that Grebstrad tries. If he sort of dives down the inside, Gullickson just has more momentum and carries that momentum right around the outside, and he's still in that 7th place. But I think Jockelson is looking in the pound seat at the moment. He's got such a great view of not only this amazing battle, but if any of them start tripping over themselves, or there's a sort of a late lunge that doesn't work, as we're going to see one as we head into turn 1, Jockelson is looking in a really good spot. As we head down into turn 1 once again, Grebstrad decides on the inside. It looks like Gullickson has a little bit more straight line speed as he dives to the inside, and Grebstrad's going to try and go all the way around the outside. That becomes the inside for turn 2. Still side by side on the exit of turn 3. Look at Duquatro now. He is coming back at them as we see a move for the lead. Thomas Torp coming under pressure from Anders Meyer, who has set the fastest lap on the last 2 laps of the race. He's going to try the outside as we head into Ferradura.
It's getting closer and closer between these two, as Meyer just holding on for dear life right round the outside onto the brakes. Torp just maintains it, but look, Isaacson and that 77 Delara F3 for IGL Coatings is close right up onto the back of them. Now, Seb, I've just spotted something, and I think that maybe Torp has got a little bit of floor damage. There's a bit of scuffing on the nose cone, which normally indicates that you've got damage to the floor. There's, oh, there you go, Meyer centered up the inside of Joan Calbert. Is Torp going to have a better run out of it, because he's going to have all the outside line, but here comes Isaacson wanting to get involved in this freeway battle for the lead as we head towards the start-finish straight, and Meyer pulls out of the slipstream. We're going to have 2 wide, we're going to have 3 wide as we come across the crest of the hill towards the center S's. Hold tight, everyone, here we go, and they're still going to be 3 wide the whole way round the center S's. Isaacson just about backs up. Meyer keeping his nose where it's not wanted against Torp, and has to slot back into 3rd, but Seb, I'm not sure how they've made it through there 3 wide. It's a struggle to make it 2 wide, let alone 3 wide, as we see Torp defending that inside line once again aggressively. And they just about sort themselves out, but that slower entry is going to really compromise Torp, as here comes Meyer, and this is surely going to be a change for the lead, because he's going to have the inside line for the next 2 corners, and Meyer is finally going to take charge of the lead, and Torp's down to 2nd.
Great move by Meyer, even better driving from Isaacson there. He was the outside car when they went 3 wide into turn 1. Really smart driving by him, sort of acknowledging that he wasn't going to make the move and sort of playing the long game in the safe game. So I think Isaacson does a lot of credit for sort of preventing what could be a pretty disastrous crash. And Isaacson really has been the king of consistency so far this season. He's you know, he's second in the points. He's just been quietly consistent, and that's exactly what you need to do, and he's proving it again. Maya, I think you're right. I think Torp does have some damage. Maya not. Has the grip just to go clean around the outside of him in turn 4. But this is the real test now for Torp. Does he have the straight line speed to be able to come back at Maya? It certainly looks like he has. Maya has to pull to the inside. Torp's going to go all the way around the outside. He's going to be a little bit braver on the brakes, and it looks like Torp has just got the ability to go later on the brakes, but he's going to be compromised on exit, and Isaacson is looking pretty at the moment. I think we're going to see them 3 wide into turn 4 once again, and they're certainly making a habit of it, and this is a great move here from Isaacson.
The racing is reaching fever pitch here in Brazil. We haven't even got to race 2 as Isaacson gets the move done over Torp. Torp is down to 3rd. 3 leaders in the championship here. Wow. They are at it. They are deep in the trenches, scrapping this out. This is turning out to be a real slugfest of a race. Of drivers swapping position, and Isaacson just about holds on to it. Will get away with that one due to being a slower exit off the corner, and the apex coming up really, really quickly. But that's going to give Maya just that bit of breathing space despite that little lockup there. It's a Bica de Pato, and it's going to allow Maya just to scamper away, and he's around about that magical 7/8 tenths of a second, so he's going to be out of slipstream range. But if Isaacson can get a decent run, he's just going to hook and maintain being in that draft range and drag himself along. Torp's going to equally come along for that ride, but it might just allow Isaacson to defend from Torp into turn 1 here, Seb.
Yeah, I think it is. I think Torp, though, is looking spicy at the moment. He's certainly wanting those positions back, and if he has got some damage, which it does at least visually look like he has, it certainly isn't affecting his pace, especially under braking. But I think Isaacson is more under pressure from Torp than Isaacson is putting on Anders Maya in the lead. There's actually a great battle between Jokkelsen and De Quattro. De Quattro even, they're having a massive scrap over P9 and 10. So that battle down the field certainly hasn't stopped as we're sort of focusing on the top 3. I think Isaacson's going to have to work hard if he wants this 2nd place. He might allow Torp to sort of go through and sort of play the long game, and sort of they might, as teammates, use each other's slipstream to sort of catch up to 1st place to Maya. But this is the battle I was talking about. Jokkelsen, Quattrol, and Pettersson and Otterhol involved as we head in to Ferradura. And it's all getting very spicy, and that's going to be a great move there from Jokkelsen if he can hold it all the way around the outside. Has to concede it at the apex, but that's Quattrol's gone very deep in a little bit of contact there. That's going to allow Pettersson just to dive up the inside, and De Quattrol's been in quite a lot of action so far. We're only 30 minutes into race 1. He's got a lot more racing to go today.
He's come off the track somewhere, and that's why I was just wondering how he's managed to drop so much time compared to Grebstrand and Gullikson and Barons that he was battling with a little bit. Oh, there's contact! Down a Young Cow! And Peterson just on the inside line. Everyone has to take evasive action to come around him. Here comes Scarrett. It's a lowly 15th at the moment, but Peterson and Nielsen there tangling on the run into Junkow. They have a run in with one another. Jokkelsen trying to find a way past the Quattro, but all that was going on, Seb. Torp has managed to find a way past Isaacson. Maya is fully checking out in the lead now. The gap 1.1 second. As we stay with these guys for now. See whether De Quattro can defend from Jokkelsen, and well, yeah, he's definitely got enough space to be able to stay on the racing line and then power through Young Cow.
Yes, indeed. This is how Torp got past Isaacson. Is this going to be a little bit of a mistake from Isaacson? It certainly is. That's turn 6. He gets all out of shape, tyre temperatures through the roof, and almost concedes the position from Torp there. I think it was more of a case of Isaacson going a little bit deep into that next corner, more than letting him pass his, or letting his teammate past him. But that's allowed Torp into second.
We saw Isaacson have that exactly the same wiggle about 2 laps ago, and it was well, actually I don't know where the time's quite gone. Said we're already up to 14 minutes 50, and I think we're just about going to get one more lap in As the clock ticks over with 5 seconds left, the white flag flies here at Brazil in race 1. 1 lap to go, and Maya is walking away with this one. But what has Isaacson got left up his sleeve for this last lap against Torp? I mean, surely, Seb, this has got to be just, you know, maintain the gap, remain close, and have a real just drag fest to the line, and pray that you've done enough coming out of Junção to come alongside and time everything perfectly and get the jump in the slipstream over Torp.
Oh, and yeah, if you're Isaacson, you're going to be, all your sort of mental capacity through the lap is going to be visualizing the exit of Junção and maximizing your braking into the corner, making sure that you're smooth on the throttle on the exit to, you're right, get that run and try and steal that second place from your teammate Thomas Torp. I think Isaacson's a little bit too far behind, goes very deep under brakes though into Bico de Pato there, really maximizing everything he can. He certainly wants this position. There's no sign of him waiting and sort of just accepting third place as they use the runoff area into Junção, and Torp's a little bit wide on exit there. That wouldn't be the exit he would have wanted. I think he's a little bit too far ahead if you're Isaacson, and certainly too far ahead is Anders Meyer. He's going to cross the line. A great race from him, and unfortunately for him, all our eyes on the Torp-Isaacson battle.
Yeah, that's happening just behind him. Meyer takes the checkered flag here in race 1. Astounding race from him. Wants to go out in front. Torp finishes second. Isaacson in third. Wow, that makes it now 3 wins on the bounce for Meyer. He is definitely the man in form right now. As Quattro beating Jokkelsen and also Holt there to come in on 9th place. Scarrett maybe going to be disappointed by that one in 14th by his own standards, as everyone just takes a little bit of a breather on this in-lap over what has been, I tell you what, Seb, some absolutely crazy racing. And so we'll take you through the classified results very, very shortly. I mean, funnily enough, this is exactly the same podium that we had in race 1 at Kota, with Meyer taking the victory, Torp in second, and Isaacson in third. Can Meyer make it 4 wins on the bounce? We will find out shortly. Larson comes home in 4th, with Jessenbracken in 5th, Behrens 6th, Grebstrad 7th. There's Gulliksen, Ducatchal, and Jokkelsen in 10th. Then we've got Otto Holt, Sviten, Lufus, Scarrett, Hauksen, Haraldsen, Andresen. Joachimsdotter takes you up to 18th place, with Haig and Asgard running out your top 20. And then it's Hendon, Nielsen, Peterson, Jensen, and Rue rounding out your field, with Jensen obviously retiring a couple of laps in, and Rue unfortunately didn't make the grid here. Wow. In between the 2 races, we're just going to take a quick break. We'll see you on the other side. We'll be back for race 2.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
We are back after what was an absolutely epic race one, just in time for race 2. The drivers are starting to take to the grid, and let's just run you through your grid. Of course, the top 8 inverted from the results from race 1, so that means Gullickson, he'll start on pole with Gredstrad on the front row. Behrens and Gesson back in there on the second row with Larson and Isaacson on the third row of the grid. And then we've got Torp and Meyer. Can Meyer come through the field to make it another victory and 4 wins on the belt? While it remains to be seen. The rest of the field just forming up as they were in race 1 as for their race finishing. So got Quattrol and Jockelson, they'll be starting behind our lead 2 in 10th, 9th and 10th respectively on the 5th row of the grid. So of course we've got the limited fuel tanks, so that means we will have pit stops in this race. Like you say, drivers could well potentially change tyres, more probably about managing the tyre temperatures necessarily than wear, I feel.
Yep, totally agree with you. It's right to get underway. It's going to be such a good race. Certainly one to keep on watching.
It is indeed, and let's get ready to go racing for race 2 here at Interlagos, and we are away. And Maya just not getting the best of start he might have hoped for, as everyone just fans out across the track early on. And Gullickson and Grevstrad, the 2 from the front row, they remain in 1st and 2nd for the moment. Everyone getting away as they were, as Isaacson's dropping a couple places early on, because Torp and Meyer have got past. Isaacson's dropped more places. He's getting absolutely mugged on this opening lap. He's down 5 places as we head down the straight for the first time.
Isaacson was... Sorry to cut in that. Isaacson went wide on the exit of turn 3, got into the grass and had to really, he had nowhere to go other than just sort of lift off the throttle and allow everybody to go past him. Scarrett's had an incident out there to top off what was a fairly disappointing race 1 if you are Alexander Scarrett. So really not good couple of starts for the IGL Coatings cars, is the number 46 there, almost getting rear-ended by his teammate. Can't quite see the car number there. That's Larson. That was Torp. One of our main protagonists, almost rear-ending the number 46 car, just proving how eager these drivers are to get past what they would consider being a little bit slower traffic. Of course, these are not slow drivers whatsoever. Gullickson, though, had a great start, really nailed it. Of course, he's no stranger to starting on reverse grid pole. Did exactly the same 2 weeks ago in the Circuit of the Americas. And Grebstrad also was, I think, 3rd in that race. So these drivers know how to start a race from the top. Can they hold on to these positions? Behrens behind them is looking very quick as well. And Gremsbakken as well. And Anders Myers had a really, really good start. But look at this. This is Del Quattro. We know that he is not afraid to get his elbows out, and he's certainly proving that. Racing with race 1 winner with Torp right behind him. Del Quattro really getting stuck in on lap 2.
So Myers made real good progress there out of Yonkau and getting himself now not only ahead of Torp but also positioning a car in the form of De Quattro in between him, and this is going to allow him just to scamper away, head off up the track and put some real clear air between himself and Torp. And now begins the hunt down of Yesterbakken and Larson, who are just ahead of him, around about 7/10 up the road, and they are battling as De Quattro just fighting it out with Torp, a little bit gingerly from the pair of them onto the brakes as Quattro just closes it off to stop any progress from Torp. But Torp needs to be careful because Jockelson is on the attack and feeling racy, but that is a move set up early on by Torp, and he's made it past Quattro, but he needs to really get a cracking exit here out of Yonkau, because otherwise Quattro's going to come straight back at him in the slipstream, and Jockelson is tied right into them, and also Isaacson, he's managed to pick up another place, back up to 10th now. Sort of 4 places down from where he started, as here comes the Quattro out of the slipstream and into attack mode as he tries to launch his way past, and Jokkelsen just elects to sit behind the pair of them as they go side by side through the center. Rest is in the Quattro, makes contact with Torp. Oh no, it's all gone wrong for Torp.
Oh, disastrous race, just like in Kota when he had that spin.
It is literally like, it's history repeating itself, isn't it, Seb? I mean, I was looking back as well through. Of course, race 1 started on pole was Torp. Likewise, we had a Kota as well. So pole sitter and podium were all exactly the same. The pole sitter for race 2, Gullikson obviously after the 8th place finish in race 1. It's like history's repeating itself. So based on that, the form book says, and the patterns emerging, Meyer will win this with Grebstrad in 2nd and Gullikson in 3rd. While Gullikson and Grebstrad are up in 1st and 2nd already, can Meyer come along and join in the party and have a bit of history repeating itself, as we only had 2 weeks ago as Torp trying to find a way back through the field. That is getting past Haukson. Oh, wow, Torp has got a big order. It's got to pray for a bit of luck and racing gods to be on his side, but about our top 2 battling it out. Look, they've got Behrens. Jakob Behrens in the number 12 tucks up right behind, pulls out sharply from the slipstream of Grebstrad, tries to hold it right round the outside of the entrance to the center S. Just elects to back out of it there, and Grebstrad holds on to 2nd, and he might just get a slightly better run off here because he's tucked right up into the slipstream of Gullikson. They could trade places, but down the field, Meyer trying to find his way past Jestrenbacher. Jestrenbacher defends hard to the inside. Meyer moves out onto the racing line, looking for the switchback there to carry more momentum through to Ciudad del Lago. And now the race up the hill. I'm not sure if he's done enough here, Seb.
I think he's going to try, though. Late move to the inside of Ferradura. Great move there by Anders Meyer. This is a really crucial part of the race for our race 1 winner. He needs to get through the traffic ahead of him as cleanly and without losing as much time as possible. There's been, I think, an incident down the field. Joachimsdotter, Asgard and Jensen all have had either a crash between themselves or 3 individual. We can actually have a look at the replay now. This is Joachimsdotter in the number 23 car. This is Ferradura they're coming into. And what's going to happen? Oh, and they're sort of merged together at the apex. A huge accident there for Joachimsdotter. Rounds off again a pretty terrible race for her. She dropped some places in race 1. Of course, had that great race at Kota, went as longer on fuel than anybody else. I was sort of watching her today, thinking that she could do the same and sort of play a little bit of a dark horse in this race, but that's not going to come to fruition. But yeah, back to Anders here. It's so important that he makes these moves, doesn't lose too much time, and actually it's crucial that Gullikson, Grebstrad and Behrens all continue to fight at the field is exactly what they're doing. This is Behrens down the inside of Grebstrad. He takes that coveted 2nd place as long as he can keep it all within the limits of the racetrack on exit. Grebstrad's going to have a little bit of a move to the inside, but he's going to have to be forced around the long way round Ferradura, and I don't think he's going to have the momentum to do that. And Behrens takes that position once again. And as long as they keep on doing this, this is just going to allow Meyer just to catch up. He's going to get onto the back of this pack, and his pace, even in traffic, has been very, very competitive. So I think as you were talking about history repeating itself, it's certainly looking like it could happen again. And you're right, that would be 4 wins on the trot for Anders Meyer, and exactly what you need to do if you're going for a championship.
Well, Behrens and Grebstrad have been battling. You can visually see it now, but Gullikson is really pulling away as Behrens is out onto the grass, and that's going to give Grebstrad back 2nd place. Practically a platter. Says thank you very much, I'll have a piece of that. But Behrens, he's going to be in the slipstream. We're going to see a big lunge into the center S as he's closing in, and then there's nearly contact between the pair of them as they came across the start-finish line. And Behrens, despite running wide out of Young Cow, pulls alongside, but Grebstrad just gets his elbows out and muscles his way back into that 2nd place and puts a big stamp on the ground. But as you said, Seb, look, Larson, Maya, and even Jessenbacher are now right on their tail as Berens tries to send it right round the outside, and there's contact between them, and Berens can't quite carry the momentum on, and Grebstrad gets hold of that second place and starts to cement it because Berens is going to be under attack now from Larson.
Yeah, they were so lucky that was sort of wheel face to wheel face. It could have easily ended up in almost an aeroplane accident. Grebstrad has a huge lockup into turn 6 there. Not exactly what you want to do as you've just taken that second place. Berens is still in that slipstream. He's going to be a real threat into turn 1. But Maya has caught back up to this pack now, and this is crucial for him. Can he get through this sort of gaggle of cars effectively and without gaining damage? We saw what happened to Torp. You know, getting involved in incidents can ruin your race, and you know, if you're Maya, you are thinking about the race win, but you've got to get there first. I mean, the old adage is to finish first you must finish, and that's exactly what he has to be thinking about right now. And actually, this is looking like Berens is more under attack from Larson than he is able to attack Grebstrad. There's going to be any moves into turn 1. I think they're all going to play. Oh, Maya, late move down the inside. Takes that 4th place from Larson. And is he thinking about going for Berens? Berens had a huge swap on the exit of turn 2. That's going to hurt him all the way down into Decino de Lago. Now, Maya will be forced to the outside, but I think he's going to have the move done. He's been so good under brake, has Anders Maya all weekend long. And he's certainly proving that. It's going to go all the way around the outside of Berens there, and that's going to be 3rd place because this is now the inside line.
There's contact! Wow, in a big accident. And we said about history repeating itself. Well, it's going to take a lot for Maya to do so. Oh, and that's grabbing. That's grabbing. He's got suspension damage, hasn't he, Seb? That's broken suspension. And wow, a bigger twist to the story here in Brazil, and well, it's like a bucking bronco the way that thing is moving around, and then when it gets remotely close to the accelerator, and these three, I tell you what, well, they were slashing and hacking at one another like they were trying to scythe their way through the Amazon rainforest, and you had to wonder with just how close they were getting. They were gambling on it being fine, and they just pushed the limits just that bit too far as Maya is desperately trying to get that car back to the pit lane. As we've got, I think, Quattro, he's headed into the pits. Some pit stops starting to happen here. I mean, we're already, you know, just over a third of the race completed. Gullickson, he's cleared off into the distance, 3.5 seconds. Grebstrad looks good for 2nd now. It's 2 seconds clear of Jessenbacher. Ready. Spectacular stuff, but the man we're seeing on screen right now, Thomas Torp, this plays right into his hands, Seb, in terms of the championship with Maya gone.
It certainly does. I mean, all 3 of the main championship protagonists, if we've been calling them all race, have each had their own issues. Torp with that incident at turn 1, Isaacson with that botched start going wide at turn 3, and of course that incident with Berens there for Maya. I think Berens has to take a little bit more of the blame after watching that replay. They sort of merged together, but I think Berens moved that a little bit more, so yeah, not exactly what we want to see, but you're right, they were racing so close together, it was bound to happen. I mean, we've had so much wheel-to-wheel action in both race 1 and race 2. I'm surprised we haven't seen more incidents like that. But yes, this is Thomas Torp's time to really consolidate his position, to gain as many points as possible. You know, when you watch other racing series and they talk about a champion's drive, and sometimes it's not about winning the race, it's about bringing a car that might be damaged home and maximising the points, and I think Torp is exactly doing that at the moment. But if you're Gullickson out in the lead, you are counting your lucky stars. I mean, he's had really good pace throughout this race, so it's not like it's undeserved in any capacity. He's done such a good job, but he's almost 4 seconds ahead of Grebstrad in a league of his own at the moment, and he's looking really good for this race win if he can just keep this pace up. So if you're Gullickson, you've got a massive smile under that crush helmet.
Well, we've had some big sways in positions gained already. Nielsen in 12th place. He's at 10 places so far. And Haraldson in 7th, up 9 places himself, although he's coming under a bit of pressure right now. It's Viten trying to displace him and make that only 8 positions again, and he does it with relative ease. And Harrison could lose a place to Isaacson, who's carrying so much momentum round to Ciudadal Lago. He's going to get himself boxed in. Clever maneuver there by Haraldson just to box his opponent in to kill off any momentum, but Isaacson uses that outside line to cut back and to snatch 8th place off of Haraldson, who's not giving it up without a fight, trying desperately to hold on the inside line. But Isaacson just shows his ability and class there to hold on. And he's up into 8th, and you have to wonder just how long it will be before he makes his way past Twiton and up into 7th.
Yeah, Isaacson really has had to come back through the field, which he's done really, really well. And this is the second race, really. I mean, if we go back to Kota, he had to do the same thing after spinning early on. So he's not unfamiliar with having to make his way through the pack, and actually he can do it really well. He's got such a cool head, and that's Scarrett actually behind him making the move on to Twiton as well. So Twiton's lost 2 places in 1 lap, and there it is. Isaacson past Twiton into turn 1. Fairly easy move for Isaacson there. Not really. Twiton didn't really put up too much of a fight. Knows it's not really his battle today. I think he'll sort of use a slipstream, but he's looking behind him. He's thinking more about Scarrett and Haraldson. He knows that that's more of his battle today, and Isaacson a little bit out of position. This is Del Quattro, though, trying to go all the way around the outside of Haraldson. He's been in the wars, has De Quattro. Has De Quattro already made a stop? I think he has, so he's looking pretty good in this race at the moment. 28 seconds off the lead, and I think he has already made his necessary trip to the pit. So De Quattro, a bit of a dark horse in this race. Of course, he's not afraid to get his elbows out. He's made some incredible moves in race 1. We know he can overtake, and his pace has actually been pretty good. So he's certainly one to keep your eye on as the pit stops sort of shake themselves out. Still got 15 minutes to go in this race. I am, for one, very pleased with that. And that's Jemson Bakken in the pit. So he's the first of the sort of top 3 to make his pit stop. And let's see if we can watch him and see if he does take tyres or if it's just a fuel stop only. And this is really going to dictate the race today, is who's feeling a little bit like a gambler and who wants to gamble on some new tyres. Jemson Bakken certainly doesn't, so he is not to change his tyres. So
the
drivers,
one Seb is where he comes out in relation to Isaacson, who was already stopped and was the highest position of any drivers who'd already made their pit stop. He stopped on lap 7. We're currently on lap 10, and while they've pretty much come out together, but Jemson Bakken just ahead by around about a second, 1.1 seconds maybe. It's all happening in the background here. Scarrett involved in control. Twiton locked in a battle with one another. And if it's a Quattro right now, it means surely, Seb, you want to clear these cars as quick as possible and to stay with the cars that have already pitted, being Jemson Bakken and Isaacson.
Yeah, it's certainly not playing into De Quattro's hands at the moment, as he's stuck behind Scarrett, who is not stopped. Yeah, he's really not working.
Sorry, Seb, that's a change for 4th place. Torp has caught and made his way past Otterholt. So Torp now up into 4th. I mean, it's a tall order. He's got 11 seconds nearly between himself and Jokkelsen, who's occupying a last place on the podium. And interestingly, if the drivers who are currently on the podium positions right now, all 3 of them, their first name both starts with a H and then an A. Useless fact. A little bit of another pattern emerging. Or am I just reading too much into this one, Seb?
I think you've gone mad, Tim. I think we all have so. After this race. Is there down the inside goes that's Twiton on Haraldson. Actually, Haraldson is caught up to Twiton. Oh, and Twiton's round. Too much ambition on the throttle there. So easy to do into turn 1. It's off camber. Surprised we haven't seen more drivers have a little bit of an incident at turn 1. This is allowed De Quattro, though, to have a look at Scarrett. He's going to go clean around the outside. Scarrett, though, is just later on the brakes, gets it slowed down more efficiently and takes that position. And if you're De Quattro, you are starting to realise that if he doesn't get past Scarrett soon, it's really hampering his strategy of pitting earlier, because he's losing so much time. To Isaacson, as you rightly pointed out, has already made his pit stop along with Jemson Bakken, and this is not what you want to do if you're De Quattro. So yes, he's keep an eye on this battle in the timing towers. That's going to be a move down the inside for De Quattro.
Leaders in, Seb. Gullickson is in from the lead and in a comfortable lead at that. And Grebstrad, he's going to carry on for another lap. Jokkelson, the other one of our top three, is in as well. Oh, yeah, there you go, Seb. Answer your question. Well, the leaders, it looks like everyone's going to remain on the tyres that they are. Just looking at the times, I can't really see anyone who has elected to go for that. Just to put some colder rubber on. Trying to get a bit of grip and head out again. Oh, Jokkelson, now that's interesting because he's going to come out behind Yesterbakken, and equally Isaacson has made his way past Yesterbakken. While we've been looking at all this action, it's all happening here, and Jokkelson's going to come out right in amongst and battle with De Quattro. There comes De Quattro, flying around through the center S's, and he's going to carry a lot more momentum, a lot more speed, and we're going to see a lunge up the inside here potentially, but no, so De Quattro's under attack from Scarra, and oh, they make contact on the entrance to the Interlagos.
Oh, De Quattro, is his car okay? I thought the rear of his car was detached. Might have been a little bit of netcode damage for the number 013 car. It looks like it's all driving in a straight line, so I think he's been very lucky to get away from that incident almost scot-free. Scarra there very late on the brakes. Whether it was too late, I think as this discussion there will rage on into the night, certainly will in the Discord. As yeah, this is Jokkelson, the number 08 car, looking pretty good at the moment. I'm noticing Grebstrad, and the gap between Grebstrad and Isaacson is around 21 seconds. The pit lane time is around 24, so Isaacson could be looking at a top two here. Very interesting dynamics in this race. It's certainly we're gonna need everybody to make their stops and for it to all to sort of play out, really.
Otterholt is in. He's going to drop down. So likewise, Scarra in as well. You see Jokkelson and make his way past and Haraldson as well. Going to come out probably. Oh, De Quattro as well, making his way past too. So it looks like they're going to come around maybe, I think, just in front of Tveiten. Potentially, no, not even there, but incredibly close stuff. So, of drivers yet to pit, Grebstrad, our leader. Thorpe in third place is yet to stop, and then Haraldson in seventh. Currently up 9 places, but that's due to pit stops at the moment. As here's another driver yet to stop, Peterson in that 903 F3. He's having a bit of a battle with Tveiten, who hasn't stopped either. So these two running on minimum amount of fuel right now. Currently, Larson is going to feel like he's being really held up behind them because these two are scrapping out over positions, not only on track but also, where they're going to be in relation. There's a bit of a lock-up there from Tveiten and Larson. Chance to try and clean him now, but let's not forget he's on a much heavier fuel load, isn't he, Seb? So Cops going to feel a bit sluggish compared to the agility of like a mountain goat that Tveiten's car's going to have.
Oh, certainly. It's going to allow Tveiten to brake later, to take more apex speed in, and of course these drivers aren't changing tyres. They don't gain the benefits, if you've just pitted of fresh rubber. So yeah, Tveiten in the pound seat at the moment, although he will be pulling into the pits any time soon. Might even be this lap, and it certainly looks that way, along with Haraldson up ahead, and I think that's Pettersson as well coming into the pits. No, it wasn't Pettersson. Yeah, still going strong. I think he sort of faked actually to go into the pits because I certainly saw him pull towards the inside of the track. But really interesting up the field, noticing that Gullickson is our de facto race leader, we'll call him. He's the first of the drivers to have already made their mandatory stop. And the gap between him and Isaacson, who is the second driver, is 10 seconds. So if you're Gullickson, you've got such a comfortable lead at the moment with 8 minutes to go in this race. Of course, Grebstrad and Torp still to make their mandatory pit stops. This is your race leader. He's actually made great fuel mileage, has Grebstrad, really done very well. One of the longest running drivers so far. He ends his streak of laps not pitted as he's right in to reset that counter. And again, I don't think we'll be seeing any drivers really take tyres. So very interesting because, we were talking to some of the drivers after the last race, weren't we, Tim? And they were saying that it's like a second more to take tyres. So to me, I thought it would be a no-brainer to take tyres.
You think so, but clearly not, as Gluckson resumes the race lead. Where is Grebstruck going to come out? Torp carries on for another lap here. The last few drivers to stop. Peterson currently in 9th. He's yet to stop. Likewise is Holkson and Haig. They are in 17th and 19th respectively. There's a new fastest lap of the race last time around from Gullickson. He has got the hammer down, really trying to push this one home, bring the car home in first place. But Grebstrad, he has got back out into third, so ahead of Isaacson crucially. But Isaacson, he's 5 seconds down the road. I mean, we've got 7 minutes, well, not even 7 minutes, have we? 6.5 minutes left on the clock here in race 2 at Brazil as Haig heads into the pits. I think the most vulnerable one out of all these is Torp, really. I mean, he's yet to stop Seb, and he's going to lose a whole heap of places. Due to that, naturally. I mean, I'm just trying to work this one out, doing the mental maths. I think he might even come out behind Jokkelson in 6th.
I think he will. I think he's going to be in that Jokkelson-De Quattro fight, although they're not really close to each other on track. I think if you're Torp, you'll be hoping to be sort of away from De Quattro as much as you can be as he comes into the pits now. So we've only got about 20 seconds or so to find out where Thomas Torp's position will be. He's still got 6 minutes to go in this race, and Torp is incredibly quick and a really good overtaker. So, you know, if he's around cars and not too far away, he still has the possibility of making those overtakes. No tyres taken there for Thomas Torp, and he is out once again. Jokkelson already through, so yeah, it's really not going to be close to Jokkelson whatsoever. Crucially for him is, where is Del Quattro? I think that was him just coming round turn 2. So he's sort of in the middle. He's sort of in no man's land, isn't he, really, Thomas Torp? But he might just be able to catch up to Jokkelson. But I mean, if you're Torp, I think 5th place is sort of the best you can be really hoping for in this race.
You see Maya on the recovery drive back out after severe damage to his car, and this is surely going to be a bit of a regulation move into turn 1 around the outside as he sweeps down. Recovering, that is up to 15th now, but wow, after 3 wins on the bounce, we head inside the last 5 minutes here for race 2, the Nordic F3 Championship from Brazil, round 3. It's a bit of a crash back down to reality, isn't it, after that high of 3 wins on the bounce, Seb?
It certainly is. I think Maya will have a lot of mixed emotions coming out of this race. Of course, the incident will play heavily upon that. You know, I don't really think it was his fault. I think, you know, like in many accidents in motor racing, you can always try and prevent it, but I don't think it was necessarily the cause. But he still had a really good race 1. He made some good overtakes, went from 2nd to the lead. So, you know, he still has the pace, and you know, we saw how well he did bouncing back from Spa when it didn't necessarily go to plan. He had such a dominant coater. So I think he's not used, I think used is the wrong word, but he has shown that he is able to bounce back from difficult races. This is by far the most difficult he's encountered, but he's so quick and he's so methodical. Is that Maya into the pits again, or are they just using the very cheeky racing line? Yeah, the very cheeky racing line that they're not actually allowed to do in Formula 1 anymore. They're told not to do it. This is Nilsson on Pettersson down into is Pettersson going slow? Because that car does not look very quick at all. And yeah, that is Pettersson going slow?
I think it definitely doesn't seem to be pushing as hard as. Well, yeah, I mean, just look at the way Loffers and Harrelson have closed right up onto the back of him.
Yeah, he's getting out of the way. Oh! Who's that spinning in the background?
That was Harrelson, I think. Just tripping up over him there. No, it was even Loffers, yeah. It was just Loffers, I think. So it's all happening here.
It was Joachim Sotter. Joachim Sotter had the spin behind. So Joachim Sotter is actually a lap down after that crash earlier on. Something's happening to Pettersson out there. Really not got the pace that you would expect from a Formula 3 car. And Pettersson has certainly been up there So I wonder if it's more of a mechanical issue. Of course, no real mechanical issues in sim racing, but you can have equipment failures. Your pedals might not be working, and he pulls into the pits. Wow, Jakob Stotter gets so close to the pit wall there. So easy to lose a wheel, and it doesn't look like there's any damage to Pettersson's car, but I have a feeling that that might be the end of his race here at Interlagos.
I'm actually wondering, Seb, whether he never put enough fuel in to get himself to the end. And I think that could well be what it is. I think it could be something literally as simple as that. Having said that, he has been stationary for quite a while now. Oh,
no, he's out.
Again. So I think, yeah, it could be not enough petrol on board for him. So back out again to see our leader, Gullikson. Interesting, if the podiums remain as they are right now, it means that Isaacson finished on the podium at 5 out of the 6 races, if you include this one, that we're currently still under 1.5 minutes remaining. That is impressive. And consistency is. Ooh, who was that there? That was
Hay.
In a bit deep.
Yeah, a little, not the rejoin that Gullikson would have wanted, especially as you're leading the race. I almost had Ocon Verstappen vibes, same location on the circuit. They all get away all okay. So Haig, I think, not having the best of races, down in 19th place. And let's have a look at the replay. It all seems fairly good. Into turn 1, hits the apex very nicely. Is going to use too much curb on the apex of turn 2. And round she goes and actually hits the back of the car, and that flashing past is your race leader, just showing how close you always are to disaster in motorsports. And Gullikson 4.5 seconds up ahead against P2, but yes, you can never be sure until you've crossed that line.
I'm just trying to have a bit of a look at the time here, Seb. I think we're going to get one more lap here. I think Gullikson just about making it across. Let's find out as we come round. Yeah, he's got about 15 seconds. This is going to be close to the wire yet again, actually. Like we had in race 1, but yeah, I think he's just about going to get it. There we go. The white flag flies once again here in Interlagos. We have 1 lap remaining in race 2. 1 lap for Gullikson just to nurse the car home. Top. Well, he's in these closing stages. He's closing right up onto the back of Jokkelsen. Some defense to the inside there, hugging the pit wall practically. However, surely for Torp now, Seb, this is about just, you know, positioning him and keeping close behind and then launching an attack like we saw pretty much in race 1 drivers do, where brilliant exit out of Junkel and get it on the a drag race to the line.
He's going to have to do that. There was a little bit of traffic into Destino del Lago there, which meant that Torp couldn't, even if he wanted to, make a move. So yeah, you're right. He's got to be, again, focusing on Jean Xiao. Unlike last race, or race number 1, when it was Isaacson on Torp, this is Torp on Jokkelsen. This is really crucial for Torp, though. He needs as many points as possible salvaged from this race. Oh, and he's round!
Oh, no!
An unforced error from Torp. Just got a little bit confused, I think, by Jokkelsen slowing up in the apex of the corner. Luckily for him, he's only lost 1 position, but that's not the finish Torp would have wanted. This, however, is the finish that Gullikson would have wanted as he crosses the line to win race number 2 here at Interlagos.
Wow, Gullikson takes the victory here. What has been an astounding race with Grebstrad in second. And that means that that is a pole to a victory lap. That race even for Gullikson. Isaacson, good result for him. That's 2 third places here in Brazil. The Agile Coatings driver. Spectacular style. Wow. Starts to come across the line. Scout's going to round out your top 10, but we walk away from this one, Seb. Got some big stories coming out of this one. It's definitely not done and dusted.
It certainly isn't. I was actually writing some headlines that you could use from this race. I think Torp Topples is one. He's not really shown. I mean, he's shown the pace that he's shown all season long, but those mistakes are starting to creep in. And when you're in a championship like this, you really can't afford to have them. And it's sort of fortunate for Torp that Maya, down in 13th, had more of an issue in that damage, and that sort of recovery lap that he had to do back to the pits cost him so much time in the end. But if you're Torp, you need to almost not worry about the pace and do what Isaacson's doing and just be consistently on the podium. Actually, in fact, you were talking about this is the 5th time out of 6 races that Isaacson's been on the podium. The only time that he wasn't on the podium, especially when Torp crashed into him at Kota.
So there we go. There are your classified results here from race 2, the Nordic F3 Championship. Round 3 from Brazil. Gullikson taking the victory. Grebstrad in second. Isaacson rounding out the podium positions. Jebsen Bakker of the Agile Coatings drivers. He came home in 4th with Jokusen in 5th to Quattro. A great race from him for the Grid Lad Sim Racing driver into 6th. Thomas Torp was in 7th. Of course, an unforced error just costing him dearly in the last stages of the race. Larson into 8th. A much better race than race 1, but maybe still hoping for a few more improvements. Arholt finishes in 9th with Scarrett in 10th. Nilsson is 11th with Loftus in 12th, and the recovering Meyer, after somehow getting his car back around again, comes home in 13th place. Haraldson 14th with Tveten in 15th. Hackerson, Peterson, Haig, Asgard, and Berens rounding out your top 20. And then the last few runners, of which the lap down is Jokumstotter, Asgard, Andreasen, and then Jensen. We lost 12 a lap to go, and then Hendon and Rue, unfortunately, did not make the start. And well, let's have a bit of a chat, shall we, to a few of our drivers. First up, let's have a chat to race 2 winner, Havar Gullikson. Congratulations.
Thank you.
From first place, pole position, closing it out in first place. I mean, once you had that gap early on when the car started battling behind you, I mean, it's from up here anyway, it seemed like relatively plain sailing, although I get the feeling you're maybe going to say it wasn't quite as easy as it may have looked.
It was a hard race. I'm very sweaty. But of course I was lucky with the guys fighting behind me, and I had a really scary moment 3 laps before the end. A guy entered the driving line from he has gone off, so I almost hit him. But
yes, we caught that one on camera. It was a heart in mouth type of moment, indeed. And yeah, I mean, it could have all come and done in an instant for you. Having said that, I mean, this is really going to help you out. And second time on the podium, of course, that was also coming at Kota in race 2, where you started on pole there as well.
Yes, I did, but now I had a bit better setup, I think. But also here, the back tires was very hot, and just had to try to maintain not too hot rear tires.
Talking of the tires, we were speaking about that during the race. Especially with race 2 in mind. It's not too much of a time penalty to take on new tires. I mean, was that ever a bit of a consideration for you with the incredibly hot track temperatures and the overheating the rears to put on a brand new set of tires, and not so much for the wear, but just to go again with much cooler tires?
No, because on Kota I tried to change all 4, but the starting lap after you have changed the tires is very bad. You have no grip at all, so you lose a lot more than just changing in the pit.
Okay, that's interesting to know. It's definitely, that seems like the lesser of 2 evils there. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Of course, my teammates, Jeroen and Ernst Olav. Jeroen finished P6, that's good. And of course, Håkon and Nils Erik on the podium, so congrats to them also.
How about Gilson, your winner here in race 2? Now, Seb, I believe that you are standing by with Hakon Gribstad, our race to second place driver.
I certainly am. Good evening, Hakon. What a race from your side. Of course, a good race one, and that gave you the perfect starting position for race two.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to be further up in quali, but apparently I need to learn some quali things.
Well, talking of that, we saw some drivers in qualifying doing the brake dragging trick. Were you one of them, or did you sort of stay away from that?
Well, I'll admit I tried doing it on my fourth lap, but I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to brake dragging. So
Interesting. Yeah, I think we saw some drivers try it. I'm not sure if anybody actually set their fastest laps with the technique, but I didn't manage to watch everybody. So, but race two was really good from your side. Had some good battles at the top of the field, and yeah, sort of talk us through race two.
yeah, no, it was well, yeah, fairly straightforward. Kept up with who are there for a good while, and then started fighting with Torp, I think it was, which lost us the draft of Hova, and yeah, I think what did Torp and Honors have an incident? Something happened back there, which kind of just put me in a pocket there with air on both sides.
It was actually two different incidents for Torp and Anders. So yeah, but from your side, you sort of talk about losing the draft. I think, was it really important around here? If you lost it, was it really difficult to then sort of catch back up to the car ahead?
For me, it was, yeah. My setup definitely wasn't optimal. I was not fast enough on the straights. I could catch a little bit in the corners, but not enough to make up for what I lost. So losing the draft yeah, I had no chance of catching back up at that point.
That's really interesting. And do you sort of feel that you could have got the win today, or do you think second place was your sort of maximum position?
No, I think I had the pace on me for sure. So it would have been a hard fought. Even if I did have the draft, I wouldn't have been able to get any runs on him. So.
Oh, it's really interesting. I mean, a great race from your side. You provided a lot of action and entertainment, and it was a pleasure to watch you. Is there anybody you'd like to sort of shout out at all?
Just got a shout out to my team, Magnum Motorsport, and all the guys over there.
It's lovely. Always nice to hear sort of teammate camaraderie. Well, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time at the next race, and hopefully you can be on the podium again and maybe on that top step.
Yeah, I got to learn some brake dragging in a couple of weeks.
YouTube is your friend.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And that was your second place man. And I think, Tim, you've got our final podium sitter.
I have, yes. A man who'll be incredibly happy working away from round three in Brazil with two third places to his name. Now joined by Nils Erik Isaacson. Nils, wow, it definitely seemed like to be an absolute dogfight, really scrappy affair out there, especially having to wrestle with the high track temperatures and also the high winds as well.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I don't remember this kind of conditions in the training, so I didn't have any race pace. I felt so it was maximum. I think today I was a bit lucky in the feature race though. So
I mean, you say you didn't have much pace. I mean, compared to your championship rivals of Meyer and Torp, you've finished on the podium more than the pair of them. It's now 5 races out of 6 so far this season that you've been on the podium, whereas they've only managed 4 podiums to their name. Obviously, I know they have got some wins in there as well. So, I mean, overall, surely, walking away from Interlagos, you've got to be relatively happy.
yes, of course, I'm very happy, and consistency is the key to fight for the championship. But I think you need to have a couple of victories as well. So I need to have one of those. Yeah.
A couple of weeks' time, we head to Silverstone. Is that a track you like? don't
Yeah,
like? What's your
I,
feelings?
I have a lot of laps there, so I think that will be okay.
So possibly, don't want to tempt fate or the curse of the commentary or anything like that. Then looking for a really strong result, let's say.
Yeah, well, we will try to win, of course, as always. But yeah, I think in the first race today, I was a bit. I don't know what happened. I overcooked my tires, so I just had to let Thomas go. I don't know what happened. It was not good.
Yeah, we noticed that through the midfield section of the lap that you just seemed to be struggling for grip at the rear. The car was snapping and squirming around anyway. Every time you seemed to go remotely close to the accelerator. So yeah, it did seem quite apparent that that you're really struggling with it out there. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to at all, Nils?
Yeah, of course, the team and our sponsor, Sande Trafikkskole. We have been training very well, I think, and yeah, we have worked on the setups and everything. So it was a good team performance, at least pace-wise. But I'm not sure about the results are yet. I haven't looked that close on it.
No problem. That's Nils Erik Isaacson. He walks away from Brazil with 2 third places to his name. Now, Seb, wow, 2 absolutely crazy races. What has been your favourite moment from the 2?
Oh, that's the mean thing to say.
It is a bit, isn't it? So many to pick from.
So many to pick from. I always do the easy answer, and I'm certainly not going to change that tonight. I think overall it's just been the amount of wheel-to-wheel action that we've seen, especially heading from turn 1 all the way down into turn 4, and just people being able to race side by side with very minimal contact. If I had to choose a moment, it would be when they almost went 4 wide on the entrance to turn 1 in race 1, although it's been so crazy I've forgotten who that involved. But if you were involved in that, that was certainly my favourite moment.
It was definitely a spectacle to behold, and said Silverstone next time out. It's going to be a slightly different challenge, maybe for a few of the drivers.
It is. It's going to be dominated a lot more by setup choice. I think we're going to see much more low downforce setups. I think again tyre wear is going to be an issue, especially with Maggots and Beckett's. That's such high speed complex. We're not going to see is nowhere near as high as track temps. Of course, we're going to Britain, so it's going to be cooler. I think that's going to almost give the drivers a little bit of false sense of security with their tyres. And it's Silverstone. It's easy to overtake, and it always provides good racing, and it's a track that drivers know. So, and with the caliber of drivers we've got here, it's just going to be again an amazing race.
And if you haven't had enough action for your week, coming up on the channel on Saturday night at 8 PM GMT, we have got the Apex Racing Academy F3 series, where Seb will be back in the commentary box for that one. That's at Virginia International Raceway. And then I'll be on the channel later in the evening from 10:45. We have Formula Renault 3.5 visiting Bathurst. And then we've got the SRF Weekend Warriors, an absolutely epic series that is. That's at 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. Or on Monday, we sort of round out the extended weekend. I'll be back in the commentary box for the Israel Racing League Summit Point round 4 in the touring cars. That is always wild and exciting from those guys. Definitely drama filled. But wow, what can we say from Interlagos? It's been amazing. We've had some epic moves, as Seb said, about that 4 wide nearly into turn 1. Congratulations to Maya for his victory, and likewise Gullickson, his first time on the top step of the podium and breaking the dominance of Torp and Meyer of holding on to that step. But from John Robertson, the production review, Seb Bolsh-Williams, and I've been Tim Cox, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when the Nordic F3 Championship returns here at Apex Racing TV to Silverstone.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.